All team, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in.
I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Tricia Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 30 of Fangirls Going Rogue. I am one of your hosts, Teresa Delgado, and with me are my two amazing and also nominated for favorite fangirl podcast host, Tricia Barr. Hey, say hey, Tricia.
Hi. How you doing?
Pretty good. And from Skywalking Through Neverland, Sarah Woloski.
Hey, I am excited. It's almost time.
Almost time for what?
It's almost March 10th.
Oh, yeah, that's tomorrow.
But I'm jumping the gun.
I kind of jumped the gun this weekend a little bit.
You did?
Like a little.
Well, we should tell people. It's our birthday day.
It's our birthday day. Yeah, we're birthday twinsies, which is really kind of cool because what are the odds that would happen?
I know. That's just nuts. I think it's so cool, though. Like, yay.
Next year, we have to be in the same place for birthday day.
Okay, so come to Disneyland.
Sounds good. Because me saying, okay, come to Fiesta, Texas does not have the same allure.
No, not quite. As much as I like riding the Rattler.
Yeah, but still not as much. Oh, with the new Batman ride, but still just not the same. Well, yesterday was International Women's Day, and it was a great day. We had a lot of people shouting out to all three of us as well as the show, but there was also some stuff that was going on with the amazing Daisy Ridley. So, Tricia, what was happening?
Well, Daisy was being kind of her amazing Daisy self and posting a strong, powerful message, which if you guys are not following her on Instagram, you should be, because there's always inspiration, and she does her Fitness Friday, and I'm like, I need to work harder at working out because they're putting her through the moves. So here was her post for the International Women's Day. Here's to strong women. May we know them. May we be them. May we raise them. And she had a lot of really nice messages on there. And then there were some not so nice messages posted about Daisy. And one of the things about being on social media is people can tag you. And so there was a message that an image of Daisy, and it said, I can't believe the unrealistic expectations I'm setting for young girls who cast me anyway. And this is a quote bubble of the famous Rey shot from the first thing we ever saw of her with the staff in the sand, kind of looking away. And then it ends with, don't they know real women have curves? And Daisy responded to this image and reposted it. And I think the most important takeaway of her response is that everybody should be free to who they want to be, that she's proud of who she is and what she looks like, and she doesn't want to be judged, and she doesn't think anybody else should be judged. And so, unfortunately, when she made this message of everybody should be kind and proud of who they were, then people went after the original poster who tagged her in it, and she took that image down. It is on our Facebook page because Sandra can snag some stuff and get things reshared. So right. It is on our Facebook page, the original message and image. But Daisy took that down, and she said again, reminding people to be kind, to not go after each other. And so and she's had many nice messages around the internet. So this is what Daisy said and what she wants people to get out of her moment. People who relate to something in Rey they haven't found in female character before. People whose daughters now think they can do things without the aid of a man, but who wouldn't be ashamed to ask for help. People who loved that The Force Awakens has multiple incredible female characters. It is much more hurtful to continue to slight other women than be a woman, be a character, be whoever you want to be. I'm a normal girl thrust into extraordinary circumstances, just like Rey. I will not apologize for how I look, what I say, and how I live my life, because what's happening inside is so much more important anyway, and I'm striving to be the best version of myself, even if I stumble along the way. It seems apt I get tagged in this a day after I received misogynistic comments on my International Women's Day post. For all of you who celebrate each other, celebrate the ones you love yourselves, work hard, are kind. Thank you for your continued support and the social media love. For anyone who has a problem with anyone in their life, be them someone you know or someone you don't, remember that expression. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Kindness isn't going to cure the world of all its awfulness, but it's a good place to begin. And that's the message from Daisy Ridley. Can we all hug now?
Yeah, hug and have a good cry.
I don't want to cry a little bit.
I
And
know.
just to piggyback off of that, another awesome fangirl, Savannah Kiefer, kind of posted this on her Facebook page and was talking about, that she likes the fact that Rey isn't a curvy girl because some of us aren't, in air quotes, blessed with curvy attributes. And I'm glad that Rey represents females who are on the thin side and more athletic. And there was a comment from one of our fangirl sisters, Bethany Blanton, and I just wanted to read that really quick. She says, too fat, too skinny, not curvy enough, no muscles, too many muscles, too pale, too dark, too tall, too short. Short hair is ugly, her hair is too long and frizzy at the end. Her blank, insert whatever you want, looks fake. She should get cosmetic surgery. She never works out. She lifts too much. She's too manly. When will people stop judging women and men by their physical characteristics? And I was just like, dude. So, yeah, Bethany had a great response. So it's going everywhere, and I'm glad that so many of us feel the same way.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, you had a really interesting point, too, because you've apparently been watching The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Yes. Okay, so... yeah, it's an amazing show. And one thing that's interesting is when the O.J. Simpson trial was actually happening, I was like a bit too young to be into it, like know what was going on. I mean, I knew certain things and I remember watching that whole crazy car chase, but I didn't know the ins and outs of the trial. And so watching The People versus O.J. Simpson now, it really brings to light what was actually happening behind the scenes, and especially with Marcia Clark, who's the prosecutor. And it's just insane how the media treated Marcia Clark versus all the male lawyers on the case. And they're just constantly judging her by her looks, her childcare issues, air quotes, and just completely treating her different than any other male lawyer, even though some of the male lawyers, they were African American, some were white, but Marcia Clark, because she's female, was cast in a whole different category.
Well, she even got her hair cut. She changed her hairdo, and the judge made a comment on it. And it just wouldn't happen if a guy changed his hair. So
right.
It's just one of those things that sometimes we're so accustomed to seeing how everybody, if you were watching that was for people who were paying attention, were watching what was happening, that you would see that behavior over and over in the media. And even from the judge, you would start to think that that's okay, that you could treat her differently than you would treat a male counterpart coming in as a lawyer. So, people sometimes start to tend to see that type of behavior is different or acceptable. So what I find really powerful just from Daisy Ridley is if anybody who's speaking out or talking about anything on the internet, for a woman to put herself out there to have an opinion, it will never be just about her opinion. It will become about her. And, if for International Women's Day, one of the media sites had their male writers read the comments that the female writers got, and they would talk about who they were, what they looked like. You must be a bad word, instead of talking about what the women were, what their opinions were. I've experienced that as a blogger. It was even interesting years ago. BJ, who's the editor at Fangirl, put up a post, and people didn't even respond to what he said. They just didn't like what he said and just said, well, you are a B, you are a C. And I'm like, it's not even a woman writing the article, but they were, they were assuming, they weren't talking about the points he was making. And so, when people assume that it's women, they think I can just attack you for that. So in the internet, Instagram and Twitter and that kind of stuff, I guess makes people even more shielded because they don't see the reaction that you have. So it's very powerful what Daisy really is saying and what she's doing, what she's saying. I'm proud of who I am. I'm not going to be ashamed. Even, you make comments, just try to be kind. Just try to do the right thing. So.
Right. And it's amazing that a 23-year-old has that kind of sensibility about herself. I think that's just so awesome.
Yeah, I forget she's 23.
Yeah.
and she literally thrust into this situation. We can imagine it because we're Star Wars fans, that we know what she was going to become part of because we've been to celebrations and we've seen how celebrities get treated and just that they're admired and adored. But she didn't really have a frame of reference. She hadn't even ever been in a movie to go have her, people come and do their autographs. So not only is she learning her craft, which she does very well, but she's learning how to be essentially a movie star at the same time. She'll never not get to be part of Star Wars. From, if you think about that was not only was Rey going through this, hopping off the world and going on adventure, she's going on an adventure too.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say happy birthday to both you ladies and hope you have fabulous birthdays. But I also want to say happy birthday to one of my favorite actors in Star Wars now, and that is Oscar Isaac. So
wait, he has our birthday?
Well, he's close. You guys could be cousins. You're next to each other one day before.
Birthday buddies.
We're birthday buddies with Poe.
Birthday buddies. Uh-oh, Trisha, are you jealous?
I am, but I'm more jealous of Rian Johnson, who, director of episode 8, who says he's with Oscar Isaac on his birthday. They are filming episode 8, which is crazy to think about, that the next one's coming, that we're not that close, but we're getting closer, because I remember when it was like, we'll never get to episode 7, and then it came, and now I'm ready for episode 8 and Rogue One and all those amazing things.
Yes. In fact, Rian Johnson tweeted out something that should have come from you, Trisha. He said, happy birthday to that beautiful, magnificent man, Oscar Isaac.
I can appreciate the bromance.
Yes.
From all of them. I think everybody, even Oscar Isaac was doing an interview and he said that Harrison Ford asked him about his hair, if it was real. If it was real. I mean, he has and I'm waiting for the Blu-ray, which is coming. Yay, we know, to see when he has like the perfect eyelashes.
He does. He does.
Who?
Oscar Isaac.
Oh, Oscar. I didn't know if we were talking about Harrison Ford.
Well, he's all of those things, he's just Harrison Ford. So we love him for all the ways that he can be Indiana Jones and Han Solo and just a normal guy in a hot dog outfit doing an interview.
And the president of the United States.
And the president of the United States. Get off my plane.
Yes.
That's like one of my favorite lines. I want to have a plane so I can say, get off my plane.
You got to do it in a more growly voice, though.
Yeah, it's like,
Get off my plane.
Well, and J.J. Abrams said that he told Harrison Ford he didn't want him to do growly Harrison Ford, that he had gotten growlier over the years past Han Solo. But so if you listen sometimes to Harrison Ford doing press, he'll do that kind of gravelly voice, and then he realizes he needs to go back into his kind of normal voice. So maybe he got so used to being the grumpy Star Wars man for a few years.
It's true.
okay.
I can attest to that.
He kind of had to mumble.
No, I was in the room, like we went to this screening of 42, Is that what it was? 42?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Richard and I were in the front row once again, and Harrison Ford was right there. He did a Q&A right after, and he was just that kind of slow, very grovelly voice. It's like, you look like Harrison Ford, but you don't sound like him. So it was such a relief when he started doing all that press for Force Awakens. It sounded much better.
Yeah, you guys are very good at getting in the front row. So
yeah,
I just held on to your wings. And
it's kind of like using the Force. You know where you want to be, and that's where we're going to be, dadgummit.
So I've heard that Kylo Ren's being added to the parks here. And Sarah, have you experienced Kylo Ren yet at Disneyland?
Yes, I have. We went back like the week he was first available, and he's kind of scary. He's very foreboding, and they lead you into a room through a corridor, and then they close the door behind you. So it's like there's no escape. Yeah, exactly. And then he's like around the corner, and he surprises you sometimes. Like he'll walk right up and be in your face and start to say things. And he says it's really awesome, the technology they're using. I mean, whatever they do, they use Kylo Ren's real voice. It's like pre-programmed phrases. But he'll talk to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him when we go to Disney World in June at Studios, because I know he's there. I've watched some interactions, and I'm very excited. Kind of the best ever.
Teresa's very good at talking to the characters in character. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in all black with like a black hood, and everything, and just walk in and kneel in front of him.
Be on his side instead of trying to be all cute. Yeah, I was kind of Disney bounding as Rey when I went to go see
Oh,
him.
yeah, that goes over real well.
Yeah, it didn't.
Well, what did he do? What was his... Was he just like...
I'm trying to remember. It's actually, we recorded it, so it's on one of our episodes of Skywalking Through Neverland, like the actual walkthrough experience, so you can hear what he says. And I haven't listened to it in a while, so I kind of forgot, because you're in the moment, you're like trying to take your picture, and yet at the same time you're trying to interact with him, but you don't want to be too long because there's people behind you. But I don't know.
There's that long line of people behind you. Yes.
Yeah. So I probably needed to pay attention more, but I just love like looking at his mask and his outfit. I try to take in the costume details when I'm like right next to him.
I'm sure it's costume details. Are you sure you're just not staring at Kylo Ren? There's something deep down inside of you somewhere.
No, not me. I'm very light side. You know this, Teresa. You're the dark side of March 10th. I'm the light side.
Okay.
Well, that is true. Now, have you guys seen the video of Jedi Anna, as in a crossover Star Wars Frozen character that some child has cosplayed taking on Darth Vader at Jedi Training Academy? Parks and Cons posted this.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's adorable.
Well, you know how they go, was it right side, left side, up high, down low, or whatever?
Yep.
Well, she just goes on afterwards. She just starts whacking on Vader. Not that I approve of whacking on the poor stunt performers, but she's definitely all into taking on Vader, and she's like all of maybe a couple feet high. So.
Oh no. You know what's funny about that? We saw the Jedi Training Academy after that video went out, or what it's called now. It's not called Jedi Training Academy. But yeah, they stopped doing the cut to the left leg, cut to the right leg. And I think that might be why. Uh-huh.
Because she was like doing the wacka wacka wacka.
Yep.
They keep cutting. They're like, why isn't this bad guy falling down?
No, exactly.
Maybe if I hit you harder in the leg, in the knee,
maybe you'll fall. That's bad.
I have to. I'm excited to take my nieces and nephews back, because the first time they did it, they asked them the questions, are you going to be, are you scared? What are you going to do? And, they're all, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then when they got up there, it was kind of like their faces were like, so, now they're a little bit older. When they're the little kids, you just don't know. Sometimes they're going to be okay, and sometimes they're just sort of, oh.
Right.
So speaking of, we're getting a lot more storytelling here. We get comics, and there's been some books. So we have the Poe Dameron comic coming out. I'm excited
Yes,
for
we do.
that. Of course.
It's coming out in April, and at your local comic book shops, they can opt in to do the event. All of the information was sent to the comic book shops. So depending on what you have around you, you may be having a shop that is doing a special event for the release of Poe Dameron #1 that comes with some giveaways and things like that, prints, different versions of the cover, bunch of cool stuff. I'm really excited for that. I know I'll be going to my shops because I have a couple that will be doing this other stuff. But also releasing, there's a Han Solo comic, as well as Rey's Story, which is a new book that was released by Disney Publishing, and it's written by Elizabeth Schaefer, and she's actually now an editor over at Del Rey for the Star Wars books section. And I know, Sarah, you just got this. I got it as well. I got mine a few weeks ago, and I think you just finished reading it. So what did you think?
I did finish reading it, and you know what? I'm trying to scroll up on my computer like with my finger. It doesn't work that way. Let's see. I did. I thought it was really interesting. It shed a little more light on her backstory. The fact that she has no memory of her parents. But one of my favorite things in this book is finally we have Maz saying what we heard in one of the trailers. Maz says, "Who are you?" And Rey says, "I'm no one." This conversation is in the book. Did you guys read this?
Yes. It's kind of interesting because every book's a little different. You have the junior novelization, you have the novelization, you have this one, and there's all little things that are different, which
yes.
I don't mind because, these are stories from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and they're from different people's perspective. And you asked 4 people about what happened at something, we would all tell you a different version, and we might remember something a little different. But yes, I loved that. And for people, I know it's a kid's book. We talked about this with Jason.
This is not a kid's book.
On our last episode, it's a quick read. It's really fun to get inside Rey's head.
Yes.
A little bit, because I felt like the adult novelization stayed away from that. Alan D. Foster was really good at doing Kylo Ren and getting into kind of his whatever he was, but they were staying really far away from Rey, and I just didn't feel like it sat down into her. So this was kind of fun to have Rey's story, and I'm excited that Elizabeth Schaefer is there at Del Rey, that we're seeing, always to have more perspectives in there. That's exciting. So, glad to see that she's going into, and that's what I'm saying. She wrote a kid's book, but she's working on adult novels. That's awesome, because people shouldn't be pigeonholed into, well, you're writing a kid's book, you can't write an adult story, because I think kids get the same thing out of story. Storytelling is storytelling. You just have to frame it a little differently. So.
Right. And this one actually pairs really well with Before the Awakening and Rey's story in that. So I think it's really good because we're getting a lot of really awesome Rey stuff, even if it's in book form. There was also another one that most of the press got. I know you got it, Sarah. I got it too. And it is Star Wars: The Original Trilogy, the graphic novel. Now, this one was interesting because we had no idea this was coming out. So when I got it, I was like, oh, what is this?
It's so adorable. And
It is adorable.
Amazing. So when we got it, I told Aaron, I was like, we have to cover this because I'm actually going to like it. And I flipped first to Return of the Jedi to look at the Ewoks because I wanted to know what they looked like. And I approve. So that's good. And this one is also from Disney Publishing as well. So with all of the stuff that's coming out right now and everything, if there's anything that I am the most looking forward to, it's actually not anything that you guys would think. It is the Lego Star Wars Chronicles of the Force that comes out in June.
Priorities.
Oh, that's so cute.
So excited about that one.
And who's writing that one?
Oh my gosh, it's Adam Bray. He's doing it, and so I think I don't know if it's just him, but I know he has a part to play in it. So,
I think is that Adam and Cole?
I think it is. I think it's Adam and Cole, which is amazing because Cole, he's a trip.
Yeah, Cole Horton. Yeah.
Cole Horton,
yes. Cole Horton. He is a trip, and I love him to death, and I can't wait for the next celebration to hang out with him again because he's fun. That's all I can say.
Cole and I hung out. We were signing at the DK right after we saw BB-8 for the first time at Celebration. And so he does robot building. And so we were just trying to figure out, and, being the engineer, like how BB-8 worked, because that was obviously the first time we had seen him do anything. So that was kind of fun because we were, I think, in spastic mode.
Yeah, what do you mean? It's spastic mode for all Celebration. Come on.
Well, I think we were all in a especially spastic mode after that panel. So that was probably the good way you should always kick off celebrations with that type of energy.
Well, I'm also really looking forward to Bloodline, which is the Claudia Gray novel, correct? That's coming out. Yes. That is coming out in May. So that comes out first. So it'll be that and then the Lego book.
Yeah, that's another person people should follow on Twitter is Claudia Gray and her Tumblr. She's got fun stuff. She knows a lot about storytelling, and she knows a lot about fandom, not just Star Wars fandom, but just fandom in general, about the way fans interact, why they respond to things, and stuff like that. So I love reading her Twitter just feed, what she's talking about. So recommend that.
Well, on this show, we also try to talk about diversity. I mean, we talked about it a little bit with the International Women's Day, but Bad Robot has just implemented, I guess would be the right word, a diversity initiative. And by Bad Robot, we mean J.J. Abrams. And a lot of it has to do with the whole Oscar kerfuffle, the hashtag So White Oscars and all that
so white.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the Oscars addressing that and Chris Rock doing what he does best had me on the floor rolling like the whole time just because it was really funny. Mm-hmm. Not appropriate for, I mean, I understand we need to make things diverse, but I was laughing, which I think was the point.
Well, he wasn't going to back away from it. And they certainly didn't back away from it did you guys watch the pre-show for the Oscars?
Yes.
He did. I mean, they talked about it a lot. So, but ABC, I think, is already on board for, they kind of embrace that, and, Disney's their parent company. So, but this was at the Washington Post was the first place I saw it covered, where J.J. Abrams spoke on the issue at the New York Times New Work Summit in California, which is weird that the New York Times New Work Summit is in California, but it's okay. And so he said the Oscar controversy was sort of a wake-up call to us. What we realized was that it has to be a systemic approach. The Oscar issue was symptomatic of the problem. It wasn't the problem. The Oscars is the last stop on the train. And so where they've gone to is that the policy is any list that we get for writers, directors, producers, projects, it needs to be at the very least representative of this country. So he's saying of the census data. And that's, I've been talking about this on Fangirl Blog for a long time. The people who are creating need to be representative of who we are. And one of the, The Force Awakens wasn't, the story group, it has a lot of women, a lot of diversity on it. The production staff on The Force Awakens, the people who made up his team were very much, it was pretty much white men. The two editors were female. But what he's acknowledging is that at least these people who are coming in to get a chance, you need to allow people to get the chance to get through the door. And part of that is, a lot of times you get jobs, just me being an engineer, you get jobs because of the people and you tend to flock to people who are more like yourself.
Right.
And then, so he's just sort of, they're acknowledging that they need to break down the barriers a little bit and make sure that different people get to come in and get opportunities, that perhaps they might find different types of stories. And when we think about The Force Awakens, for there to be a female Jedi. And what happened, a lot of people just weren't expecting it because it's just not what happens in Star Wars. Even when the guy gave up the Rey doll on Force Friday that I ended up getting, he said, well, Star Wars won't do that. But it ended up being a story that people embraced, but it was different. And so this is the way that you make storytelling exciting because it's not predictable. It's things that are different. And by bringing in different voices, they're hoping to find better stories, more stories, different types of stories. So that's what I think is kind of fun.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, people with different backgrounds bring something different to the table, all the time. So I think what you're saying is correct. Like different people of different backgrounds or different genders or different races will have just a different sensibility in general and have different stories to tell.
Yeah. And, we talked about it just talking with the movie roundtable when I did the Geek Out Loud, just hearing different different ages talk about storytelling and how people are going to react. And that I love that. I like to hear people's different ways they react to things. Knowing Teresa made my respect for the character Padme so much more just from hearing her talk about how Padme was important to her. So, these are ways that you can learn about storytelling by seeing it from other people's eyes.
Well, the Blu-ray's coming, y'all. It's coming.
It is coming.
I'm so excited. And I actually got a tweet back from Target when they were releasing everybody that was going to have it and what their bonus content was going to be. And we found out that Target was going to have like 20 minutes of extra bonus footage. And so I tweeted that I was going to get the Target version. And they tweeted back at me, "The Force is strong with your decision." And I was like, cheesy.
That's awesome, though.
Cheesy social media Target person. It's your job to sit there and watch your feed for things to say clever stuff.
Well, the one of the things that really made me excited just about that news dropping was this is one of the first times we've really seen Rey with the lightsaber in any of their marketing when that video dropped. And then and I had been talking about that. I was a little concerned that she's a female superhero when we're having this race to make a female superhero movie, and it still hadn't been embraced in any, even when you look at like their Instagram for Star Wars and Disney, and the only place where you were really seeing them embrace the female Jedi with a lightsaber and Rey was Disney Park stuff. For some reason, Disney Park knows who's on board with this whole thing, which is everybody. Everybody's into Rey and her lightsaber. So I was so excited. So I started getting the GIFs of it. And let me tell you, my Twitter went crazy just putting those up. But it was like, so I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to have this, the one when it lands in her hand.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm sorry. You posted that one that landed in her hand and I was watching and I retweeted and I was watching it over and over and I started to get all teary eyed.
I know. It's like, I'm so I'm just going to play that. But that was the first time we got it in high definition. So thank you. I'm really excited. Star Wars for finally showing Rey with the lightsaber.
And who currently has Rey with a lightsaber as their phone background? My hand's raised.
Oh, you're see? You put it on yours?
Yeah, you.
Yes,
Woo!
I do. I actually have Rey fighting Kylo Ren right here. It's pretty awesome.
I know.
And
so
random.
So do you guys watch the Blu-ray extras? Are you that type of person who does? Or
always.
Okay. I was just because sometimes
and I have to
like,
do it because I review movies, so I have to.
So there's all these different things that we're getting. Secret of the Force Awakens: The Cinematic Journey, which is going to premiere it in Austin at Southwest by what is it called? Wait, what?
Nice try.
Oh,
that was a really nice try.
So you can say it.
South by Southwest.
There you go. It's like, why did I go the wrong way? I went the other direction. So are you going to get to go see it?
I am planning on it. It is now added to my schedule since it was late. I am working a shift that sort of overlaps it a little bit, but since I'm a crew chief, I'm going to say like, hey, I got a piece. See you later so I can go get in line.
Yeah.
So most likely I will be there. I will actually be going to the J.J. Abrams panel, which is the same day, a few hours after this. And I'm excited for that also. It's all on the same day.
Well, then everybody can ask him why Leia didn't hug Chewbacca.
Well, we got that answer today, though. Not today. It was the other day. We got the answer. And Sarah, did you see this?
No.
Okay, so I'll tell you. So his thought process was that Chewie would be so wrapped up with wanting to make sure that Finn was okay that he just walked by, and that Leia and Rey would have a connection through the Force, even though they haven't met each other, and just Leia having heard about her, that she would know that she would be completely devastated with the loss of Han and stuff, so that, the Force would bring them together so they would hug. But now he realizes that it could be seen as sort of a slight against Chewie. I kind of think they could have at least reached out and touched hands or something.
Well, he also admits that he might have blocked it differently going back, that he didn't think about that, seeing Chewie in the frame, people go why didn't she go hug Chewbacca, right when it happened. If you follow my Twitter feed at Fangirl Cantina, I expressed my opinion on him giving an answer, which is I don't think he should have given one on this question.
Yeah.
That was my opinion. I sometimes think that Star Wars tends to rush to giving us answers on their storytelling and letting it just kind of be and let people think about it. It didn't bother me that she didn't go hug him. One, because Leia knows Chewbacca and she might know how he's feeling and what, some people don't want to be hugged. There's some people when they fall down and get hurt, you should go coddle them. And there are some people when they fall down and hurt, you should stay away from them because that's just how they deal with their pain. And often that's also how they deal with their emotional pain. So I didn't see that and say, oh, that's horrible, she slighted him at all. That's not what I read from it. I just read that she was responding in the way she was needed, and Chewbacca at that moment maybe just didn't need that connection. And also, how many times have you guys been around someone who's had a loss in their family and you were uncomfortable speaking to them? So I can see that would be you don't know what to say. Almost. It's one of those things, I'm in that stage of grief, or that person's in that stage of grief, that we're not going to communicate yet until we're ready. So I didn't see that as a slight, but I almost think that JJ should have just let it go, and maybe it'll come out as an answer one day in our own stories.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
But we will get answers in the Blu-ray for that. But one of the ones that I want to see, the specials I want to see, is the blueprint of a battle, the snow fight, which is go deeper into the epic climactic lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo Ren, which is one of the GIFs that I like to, which is her sliding on her knees, blocking, when they're behind the scenes. So I want to see all that because, it was a long time ago, Daisy Ridley had said that JJ wanted her to be a little bit less trained because this was going to be sort of a raw fight. She didn't know how to fight with the lightsaber. But I still want to see what training she got to do and how they prepped it, because I love that lightsaber battle and I'm ready to see it again on the Blu-ray.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm excited about?
I don't know.
John Williams, the Seventh Symphony. I can't wait to hear his eloquent speech and him talking about his personal insights of his work on Star Wars and The Force Awakens. We can see how accurate Star Wars Oxygen is.
That is one thing that we're all Teresa, what are you excited for in this one?
The deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Because there are some good ones that I have to see. I have to see them.
There's the one they show of they see in the video of Kylo Ren coming into the Millennium Falcon, and then him saying Han Solo, which became just him looking out, Kylo Ren looking out in Starkiller Base and going Han Solo. So he apparently knew that Han Solo was there, but then didn't know he was there when he was right near later.
Mhm.
He's long distance Han Solo detection, but he's maybe farsighted, but he's not nearsighted in the Force. So I'm looking forward also to the cast read that the table read. So which Mark Hamill apparently narrated, which I'm sure he had fun with, and just seeing how it came about their first time they got to go through it. So those will be some of the. I remember in the prequel trilogy the footage of all them. Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman and everybody together. Natalie looks like she's 12. And they're reading it. So those are fun to see where it started and how they, when they first came into it.
So we have another award show, and honestly, this one is the one that's more accurate than the Oscars. Let's get real. We all know that this one is the one everybody's waiting for. Yeah, things like best kiss and best fight.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the MTV Music Awards?
Oh, of course I am. Because the MTV Music Awards tell the real story about movies.
Now, is this the
awesome
Music Awards or the Movie Awards? I'm confused.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? MTV Movie Awards.
Oh,
Wait.
She's reading from my notes. Hey, it's all my fault. I'm owning it. I typed it wrong.
Okay. Yeah, because I voted for these already. So for the MTV Movie Awards, Star Wars The Force Awakens is leading the nominations, with 11 nods. Deadpool has 8. The Avengers Age of Ultron has 6. And then all 3 films are up for the night's biggest award, Movie of the Year, alongside with Creed, Jurassic World, and Straight Outta Compton. So let's talk about what we're nominated for here. And I say we because I'm nominated too, since it's Star Wars.
It's The Force Awakens. We're all involved. I understand. And I just voted.
Good. All right. So they're going to be, it's the 25th MTV Movie Awards. 25th means that it's going to be big. They're going to go all out and leave nothing back, hold nothing back. I can't talk. It's going to be on April 10th at 8 p.m. And let's see, Movie of the Year. It's Avengers Age of Ultron, Creed, Deadpool, Jurassic World, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Straight Outta Compton. So we all know who we voted for there. Same one. And then Best Female Performance, Daisy Ridley is in that one.
Oh, nice.
Now she's up against some pretty stiff competition. Jennifer Lawrence for Joy, Charlize Theron for Mad Max Fury Road, and Anna Kendrick for Pitch Perfect 2. So I guess we'll see. And then Best Male Performance, I was sort of shocked that John Boyega was not in this category, but he's not. So then it comes down to a competition of the hot boys and who you're going to pick.
Yep.
And what John Boyega's, he's later on, Breakthrough or something?
Yeah, he's in Breakthrough. But Best Male Performance was really hard for me. So I have to vote several times. All my votes are going to cancel out.
Oh, do you do that?
Well, I want Chris Pratt because of Jurassic World, but then Leo's in there, so I have to vote for him too. And then Michael B. Jordan because he's just adorable, and then Ryan Reynolds because duh.
I think Ryan Reynolds is going to win it. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Any of them, I'm totally okay with watching them in their acceptance speech. For Breakthrough Performance, John Boyega is nominated for Star Wars The Force Awakens, but so is Daisy Ridley. So they're
going to cancel each other out.
They're up against each other. Yeah. So, and also conveniently in their same category is Amy Schumer.
Oh boy.
Wow. Best Action Performance, John Boyega is nominated in this one for Best Action Performance. But he is up against Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool and Jennifer Lawrence for The Hunger Games. So we'll see. Best Hero, Daisy Ridley is nominated along with Paul Rudd for Ant-Man, Jennifer Lawrence for The Hunger Games, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for San Andreas, Chris Evans for Age of Ultron, and Charlize Theron for Mad Max Fury Road. So that's a tough category, but I think she can pull it out if all the Star Wars fans vote. Best Villain, Adam Driver. He's nominated for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Best virtual performance. We have two. Do we have two? Yes, we have two in this one. Andy Serkis for Snoke and Lupita Nyong'o for Maz Kanata.
I don't think Snoke's in it enough I'm voting for Lupita.
I voted for Lupita as well. Ensemble cast, Star Wars The Force Awakens is nominated. We don't have a best kiss because it hasn't happened yet, but I fully expect us to get in the best kiss category sometime within the next couple of movies.
But we do have best fight.
We do have best fight between Rey and Kylo Ren for Star Wars The Force Awakens. If that doesn't win, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so mad.
You know, it's hard. It's always hard because it really depends on the demographic, because the people who vote, the age they are, and then what's their favorite movie. But you know how I always judge is when the show comes on. I vote obviously as much as I can on these, but when it is actually airing, how much the audience reacts to specific, then I'm like, oh, that's who's going to win. Before they even call it, I'm like, okay, got it. All right.
Sarah, were you sad that John Williams didn't win?
For the Oscars? I was. I mean, I understand that Ennio Morricone, yes, he's it's probably his last time to win the Academy Award.
He kicks the bucket?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say it like that, but yes. So I was sad, but he did in his speech, give tribute to John Williams, so I appreciated that. And I was just kind of mad that whole night because like Mad Max kept winning stuff that The Force Awakens should win, and then Ennio Morricone won and not John Williams, and Richard and I were just scoffing after every award win.
I was angry the whole time.
Yeah.
I was angry or laughing at incredibly like racist humor. It was a
that
weird
too. Yeah.
It was a weird night.
Well,
one of
the things though that we have to remember is that sometimes that each of these in the Oscar, as opposed to say the MTV Movie Awards, is that it is about the best of in that particular category and not necessarily what might be our favorite movie or what. The Force Awakens does a lot of things really well. Was it the best of any of the categories? Yes. Probably not, but it did a lot of things really well. So you're judging it. I compete a lot in, it's subjective judging in the horse world. So you have to put all these things together and pick a winner. And so, they're judging it for different things on their merit as opposed to what's, a favorite. And some of that, I mean, everybody was rooting for Leonardo to win. And some of that was just people wanting him to finally win it. But he's a good actor and he did a good job again. So I did not get upset. I was wholly prepared for The Force Awakens to not get anything. I actually thought their best chance was in sound and that, and possibly John Williams, but there were other good people in that category too. So, this isn't even among Star Wars fans the most lauded soundtrack. So,
well, you're being very level-headed, and while I appreciate that, this is all about favorites for me.
Yes.
So,
well, that's why we have the movie awards. We have the Kids' Choice Awards and all those things. So our favorites will win. They will have trophies to display at Lucasfilm. I'm sure there will be some moon men in there.
Moon men. Moon men are for the VMAs. These are the golden popcorn.
The golden popcorn bucket.
I think it's the golden popcorn bucket.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. God, I'm mixing up my awards. I'm so old. See, I remember the first. I remember when MTV came on the air. I didn't even know, Teresa, were you alive then?
It was when it was 80, 88, 87. Yeah. Yes, I was. And the first music video was the
video killed the radio star.
Yes.
Yep.
Was that 80? Wait, when was that? Wasn't that like 81?
When did MTV come on the air? Let me Google that for you.
I know. I was on a family vacation, and
looks like they debuted in 81. So no, I wasn't born.
See, that's
I was
what I'm saying. I'm like, I was like a teenager.
I wasn't old enough to watch it yet because I was less than one, but I was there.
I remember I was on a family vacation. I was like, what is this? This is awesome.
Sarah, I think we found your music for this episode for the end.
There you go. Hey, that's a good idea. I just think it's funny, like, Teresa, you're like exactly 5 years younger than me.
I know.
Exactly. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Because you're going to be 36.
5.
And wait,
Thanks.
so while you're
No,
while you're,
then not. Then you're not. Then no.
Wait.
Because I'm going to be 31.
What? So I'm 4 years older than you. Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
so wait, how close to you are to how old is Oscar Isaac while you're Googling?
I don't know.
Well, let's find that out and see who
How
should get
old
him
is
based on
Oscar
age.
Isaac? Let's see. 37. He's 37. Ooh, he's 2 years older than me. He's right in my age range. Uh-oh.
No, not technically, because you're attracted to older men.
That's
so
true.
he's mine.
Oh, wow.
But Tricia, Miss Cougar.
I am all in.
I love it.
I will be a cougar, a puma, whatever I need to be.
Whatever cat
Whatever
I need
he
to
likes.
A lion.
That's what they have. He probably prefers wild animals from Guatemala. So whatever they
Oh, an
Jaguar.
ocelot, jaguar.
You should get an ocelot.
Because that has a ring to it.
Whatever it's going to be. Poor Oscar. It's not Oscar. I'm sorry.
List of mammals in Guatemala. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure an ocelot is there.
I think there's an ocelot. I think ocelot.
That's like a rainforest
Are you actually
creature.
Googling animals in Guatemala?
Yes. Pumas, cougars,
There you go.
jaguars,
Cougars.
ocelots. No, but ocelot's cute. You should be an ocelot.
Yeah,
I want to be a cougar. Meow. All right. We have gone off the rails officially.
I'm isolating that rare, by the way.
They're gonna let me. You know, it's so funny. I was feeding Ganner, the Jedi horse, and his best friend Louie was getting his food, and he made this like sound. He was eating. I'm like, LFL needs to come here and record him eating his dinner because this is like the coolest sound. It's almost like BB-8 purring, except down a little bit. BB-8's a cougar also. That's why he likes Poe Dameron. You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm. I did.
So, Tricia, you had this really awesome idea about relating The Force Awakens to our traditional Disney-style fairy tales. You may not have even meant Disney, but I'm going to put it there because
that's where our heads are going.
That is where we're all going mentally, is to that. So what got you thinking about this in the first place? And then we'll kind of start talking about some of this stuff. But I mean, this was one of those things where you couldn't sleep and you woke up and you pulled a Lorelai Gilmore and you were like, leave yourself a message on your old school answering machine 20 times.
I think I sent you guys an email for it, like midnight or something like that. You're probably like, why is my
You're like, this is my sleepy email. We need to do this.
And you guys have to understand that because I've written a novel now, and when things come to your head, and even as a blogger, you must write them down when they come to your head, because if you say, I will write it down tomorrow, you will forget it.
It'll go out of your head.
Yeah, it will go out of your head like poof, like magic, like a Disney fairy tale. So what got me on this was just thinking about who Rey was, and what came to me was she's very much like Rapunzel. And then of course, I think Skywalking Through Neverland shared some fan art, which is Rey as Rapunzel and
yes, Kylo Ren as Flynn.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, dude, I'm totally jonesing on this now. But can you see it? Because if you were talking about, fairy tales are very influential, but for a lot of us, the way we know fairy tales is the storytelling of Disney animation, and now through Pixar via Disney, and just what they teach us about storytelling. And so I see Rey as this character like Rapunzel, who's locked instead of a tower. She's locked on a planet, and Rapunzel doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know who her family is, and Rey doesn't know who her family is. And then, she goes out on this adventure. It's not the same, but the kind of that element of the Rey's story is very Rapunzel-ish to me and very tangled. How we see it. So that's
tangled webs we weave.
The tangled webs we weave. Yes. I mean, obviously we don't see we're not seeing the resolution that we get in Tangled where, she gets to, finally see her parents and they get to realize that she is alive. But I see that. And we also know that when George Lucas started making Star Wars, he didn't know if he was going to get to do more than one because everybody thought he was off his rocker. They were like, okay, we'll give you some money to make this movie, but we're not so sure. And fans kind of glommed onto it. They were attracted to the story. So it offered him a chance to tell this as 3 movies, but he made Star Wars as it was going to be a complete finite story that we could watch. But I don't think they're approaching the sequel trilogy in that way. They know they're going to make 3 movies. They had already hired all their directors before they finished. So they were pretty sure of that. So I see that element of it. When I brought this up, Sarah, did something come to your mind as...
Yeah. There was a couple things, but your Rapunzel is Tangled is one of my favorite Disney film pretty much. So I actually followed that train of thought through Rey to Rapunzel and the different, like the Herald or like Maz's palace or, Luke's lightsaber. What's that? What's the parallels to that?
Ooh, she's going for it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me follow the train of thought for Rapunzel, because I think Rey and Rapunzel's stories are pretty similar. They both go on a journey here. So if you think about it, BB-8 is kind of like the Herald. He comes into Rey's ordinary world and changes it, or it's the impetus to the change. And that's like Flynn Rider entering Rapunzel's tower. All of a sudden, there's something new in her ordinary world that causes the story to change. So I thought that was a fun parallel.
I've got a person in my closet.
Oh yeah, and then and obviously we have the side. She has her little sidekick, and she ends up with her little sidekick, which a lot of Disney stories have sidekicks. So it's not surprising that she ends up with a sidekick.
Who? Which one?
For Rapunzel, she has hers, and then Flynn has his sidekick too.
His unwanted sidekick?
His unwanted sidekick. It's like kicking Maximus off. Go away.
Yes.
But, BB-8 for Rey.
BB-8 is Pascal.
Yes, he's Pascal. This is good. We can have a debate.
I realize that Pascal is slightly, he's a little bit more chopper than he is BB-8. But, because he is. I mean, Pascal has a little bit of a tude,
That's very true, and Pascal keeps things in line. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like Pascal.
Except for when he's wearing a dress.
Yeah. But like when Pascal was telling, I think it was Maximus. He was like telling Maximus, don't.
Telling him to sit.
Yeah, telling him to sit, and that's kind of like BB-8 shooting that electricity into Finn, perhaps.
Be quiet.
Yeah. Stop it. So yeah, but let me see. Well. Okay, so there's a choice that happens between both Rey and Rapunzel, and that's when Rey actually chooses to keep BB-8 and doesn't sell him to Unkar Plutt. That's kind of like the moment when Rapunzel chooses to use Flynn and make a deal with him, and not tell Mother Gothel about Flynn, and make it a deal with him so that he takes her to see the lanterns. So I thought that was a fun parallel too.
Let me just get this straight. I take you to see the lanterns, bring you back home, and you'll give me back my satchel?
I promise.
And that's kind of the turning point that catapults the hero into a world of danger and excitement, or ruffians and thugs, in the case of Rapunzel.
But I mean, if you think about she has that whole scene in the bar, and then obviously
there's the Snuggly Duckling and Maz's palace.
Exactly. So there's all these but it's, we see all those different parallels. So I think it's kind of fun when you start looking at them and noting the things that they're like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think that Rey's staff and later the lightsaber, what would that be like a parallel
Rapunzel's
to?
frying pan.
Yes.
Yeah. And her hair. What do you guys think? Her hair.
And her,
She uses
Well,
her
the
hair.
The hair to me is the Force.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, but only when she sings. And she's like,
right,
but
well, but the hair is like a conduit.
Shine.
The hair is a conduit to that ability to heal, but she learns at the end of the movie that the ability to heal is not just within her hair, it's within herself. That's kind of like Rey realizing the Force. Yeah.
Well, eventually she'll realize she doesn't need that lightsaber. She can just do like Kylo Ren and grab lightning bolts out of the...
No. Because light side users don't use Force lightning. That's only on my side. You stay on your side.
I don't see why... okay, we're going to go into this. I don't see why a light side user couldn't use Force lightning or couldn't stop a laser bolt and still be using the light side.
The blaster bolt grab could be anybody, but like Force lightning, that's very dark sidey.
You think?
Yeah, it's a dark side skill.
I think it would be cool if lightsiders could use that. I mean, I wonder what makes it dark side.
Yeah, but theirs would have to be like rainbow colored, like the Care Bears. Like Care Bears stare.
You have good color. If you have colorful Force lightning, then it's okay. If you well, here's the thing. If you they're trying with the Jedi of the prequel trilogy, they're supposed to not have emotion, they're not to have attachment. But if we're talking about Star Wars, like Rebels, even when Yoda's talking to Ezra when they got to meet in the Phantom Zone of Star Wars Rebels recently, you see Yoda kind of acknowledge that he does have emotions. He just wasn't acknowledging that he had them, that he was afraid of losing things, that, that he was afraid of losing the Jedi Order. And so he might have done some things that he does have fear. So Yoda acknowledging that he has emotion makes him more powerful. That sometimes you have to just acknowledge your emotion, your fear, or whatever it is, and just let it go. There's my next. But
Parallel.
That's my.
Go ahead and ride that segue.
I'm going to ride that segue. I'm going to ride that segue in because Rey, if you were going to talk Frozen, she's more to me. She's very much going to be like Elsa in that she's kind of growing into herself and experiencing who she is and learning her powers, and maybe I don't know, is a lightsaber battle the best way to learn how to be a Jedi? Well, we're going to start out fighting, especially...
Well, when you get forced into it and you don't have a choice, then I guess that's just what you got to do.
Yeah, right. And for Elsa, that didn't work out real well at the beginning. So I could see how maybe for Rey that'll cause some problems later on in her story. So that's kind of where I see the Elsa. Teresa, did you see any other Disney fairy tales that kind of popped out that might have a kind of a similar vibe to The Force Awakens?
I mean, there's a lot of characters that you could relate it back to, but I honestly think that the Rapunzel story is the best one if you're looking at the story as a whole and characters that really match. Now, I don't know who Flynn is in this story. I haven't yet decided, and I don't think that it's Finn.
Right.
I think that I'm just not sure.
Could Flynn be argued to be kind of the guide? I mean, a little bit.
He's a little bit of he's a lot, that's one of the things about storytelling. These characters can shift through different,
right.
They don't have to necessarily be one archetype. They could be multiple archetypes or multiple roles. So, and we don't know because we don't know if Poe, in the books, we at least get to see Poe say hi to Rey.
Hi, Rey.
Which is funny because there's all this fan art of them like buddies, but we see Poe and Rey in the same room, but they're looking at the map to Luke Skywalker. That's all we see in the movie with them together. Right. So we don't know if she was like, "Hey, dude, I heard about you. I'm glad you're alive."
Well,
or anything.
like Kylo Ren, he's an awesome villain, and I know you would put here Cruella de Vil, but I don't see him sacrificing puppies. So I see him as more of a Maleficent than anything else. He's very much that kind of level of I am better than you, I know better than you, and I can be a dragon type villain.
Can I tell you
in
why
my
I see
opinion.
Cruella de Vil?
Yeah.
He's very self-centered. And Cruella's all about, I want those puppy skins so I can have a puppy coat. But
all villains are self-centered.
Well, I think that there's a whole new level on Kylo Ren of that. So that's where I see Cruella de Vil, but I can see totally Maleficent because the lightning, grabbing the blaster bolt things and whatnot. He's got some mad skills here.
He does. They're raw. Well, have you guys seen? Let me see. Have you seen Gotham?
Oh,
yeah,
a little bit.
I got tired of it.
Okay, because the second season is called Rise of the Villains, and what's interesting about Gotham is that Bruce Wayne is like a 13-year-old boy, and therefore all the villains who eventually, meet him in the comics are all really young too. And they're all kind of like Kylo Ren. They're young. They're teetering on the edge of like that good versus evil, especially the Penguin and the Riddler, or the guys who eventually become the Penguin and the Riddler. You kind of see their journey from like, especially the Riddler, I forget his name in the series, but he's kind of a bumbling, shy guy, and he ends up kind of breaking out of his shell, but through breaking out of his shell, he breaks out of his shell to the dark side. You know what I mean? So it's interesting that it's kind of like, that's the parallel that I saw when I was trying to think of a Kylo Ren parallel.
I totally see Snoke though as Wizard of Oz, so that's not a Disney fairy tale.
Okay,
but that's who I mean. He's sitting. I bet Snoke is as size of Jiminy Cricket. That's what I think. He's a little teeny dude who is projecting this big image, and so we think he's a big guy, and he's going to be like this little guy, or like Gascon from my least favorite.
Yes.
Lieber Gascon.
Oh, my least. Yes, me too. I can never watch those again.
I like those.
Oh. I was so bored.
I know. I was like, oh, can we get on with this already?
There was nothing in the background to look at. Nothing. All right. Well, my Snoke is, of course, based on Rapunzel again. He's like Mother Gothel, because we know that in the novelization to The Force Awakens, Snoke kind of pulls the wool over Ben's eyes very early when he was young. Kylo Ren as a youngster somehow, making him believe he's one thing when in reality he may not be all evil. He has this call to the light. So Mother Gothel, of course, makes Rapunzel believe that she's her daughter and not the lost princess. So in that way, it's very similar of what they do.
Yes. I don't honestly think in the villain side that there's really a parallel, because I think Kylo Ren's going into new territory for kind of, which is exciting because we don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at. But we will talk more about Kylo Ren here shortly. So
yes, we will.
All right. Well, if any of you guys that are listening have thought of any fairy tales that The Force Awakens reminds you of, send us an email to, what's our email? Oh my gosh. Contact at fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
Yep,
right?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. So contact at fangirlsgoingrogue.com, or you can tweet at us at FGGoingRogue and we'll get back to you. So I think with that said, social media shout outs?
Absolutely. Roll it, Rob Dellinger.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Tricia and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
We love social media, and we love it because, our podcast episodes only come out once a month or so. So social media is the way that we all connect with each other and interact every day. And we love that. We stay friends that way. And we love it when you guys tweet at us or Facebook us or anything like that. So, Teresa, do you want to read a fun tweet?
Sure. So at Jedi News UK did a repost of one of our tweets, and it is a picture, and it says, replace one word in a Star Wars quote with pizza, and then post your results below. So I'm going to read some of the results we got, and let's see. I'm not sure who did this. I think it's Sarah from our account said, or no, it was Sandra. It says, I love pizza. I know. And then from at Steve the Fish 76, he said, the sand pizzas are easily startled, but they will soon be back and in greater numbers. And then at the_DUNADAN said, Wisa got a grand pizza. That's why liking us, Misa thinks. And it goes on for a few. I do like this one, which is a Yoda one. It's from at Bo Sanders 70. He says, away, put your pizza. I mean you no harm. This one's good too. That's not how the pizza works.
Yes. There you go.
That's a perfect one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love it. All right.
So
well, that was
let's see. What did we get next up?
Next up. Do you guys know what Amazon Echo is?
Yes.
So it's like what, kind of like Siri for your living room, right?
Yes.
It's like a thing you place in your living room and you can just say, hey, play this, play whatever. Or I don't know. Does it turn on your lights?
I think it's supposed to eventually be one of those things that'll do everything. It'll be artificial intelligence. It will take over Skynet and blow up the world eventually. Along with Siri.
But right now it's really awesome because at Kelly_Knox, she tweeted, just realized I can tell the Amazon Echo play the Fangirls Going Rogue podcast and it plays the latest episode. Awesome. And that was a super cool tweet. I thought that was so cool. And I just recently got an Apple Watch. So I said to my Apple Watch, hey Siri, play Fangirls Going Rogue. And it couldn't find it. And I was sad. So Amazon Echo
wonder what my
is better.
phone does.
Let's see.
Okay.
Play Fangirls Going Rogue. Playing podcast Fangirls Going Rogue.
Did it do it?
It did it. See, mine said, sorry, I couldn't find fingers going rogue.
Yeah, no, mine got it.
It said fingers.
Well, there you go. So did it really? It really played it. That's
it did.
Pretty awesome. All right.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yay.
And so,
all right, Tricia, we have a winner.
We do have a winner. And Kelly Knox actually was on my Geek Girl Con panel and for about Star Wars last year. So it's nice to hear Kelly back. And she's also on a podcast, Nerd Lunch, which Geek K, our friend Geek K, who did our awesome website, hosted, which is called Woman Crush. So they did, Nerd Lunch had all women come in and talk about some of their favorite women crushes, including Daisy Ridley and Carrie Fisher and Kathleen Kennedy. So if you guys want to check that episode out, it wasn't just Star Wars. It was a lot of other awesome women in science fiction. So
nice. That's called Nerd Lunch.
Nerd
podcast?
Lunch, yes.
Okay.
Go to Fangirl blog and it is there on the, there is an episode of it. So we had our roommates wall covering giveaway, and all you had to do was retweet a little tweet that we put up on our site, fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And our winner this month for the giveaway, which is that beautiful Rey, The Force Awakens wall covering you can put on your wall, is at Mrs. Reb W. So congratulations and thank you for retweeting and being part of it. And we want to thank everybody who retweets us and talks to us and gives us answers. And I think we got a lot of great responses, especially for International Women's Day, that people were giving us shout out. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. Definitely. And I want to give a shout out to at Mrs. Reb W, who has been a great tweet walker, and she tweets a lot of episodes of Skywalking Through Neverland as well. So I think it was me who pushed her on to listening to Fangirls Going Rogue. So we love that. Yeah.
Well, before we move on, I want to give a shout out to Lillian Sky. It is her birthday today too. She's a birthday buddy.
Yay! you.
She's a birthday buddy with Oscar Isaac.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Yeah, she gets his same birthday.
But Teresa, we have each other.
That's true, and I love you.
But not as much as Oscar Isaac, I understand. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's not true. I don't know him in person. I do know you.
That's true. That's true.
Well, it's that time again. Roll it, Rob Dellinger.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
So we've been talking about Rey a lot lately, and I only thought it was fitting that we talk about Kylo Ren and give him some time, because if not, he's going to come and attack our computer screens with his lightsaber and kill my Mac, and I can't afford that because I can't buy a new one. So we need to talk about Kylo Ren before he goes nuts.
To balance the light side with the dark?
Sure, whatever. I'm just protecting my computer at this point. That's what I'm doing. Protecting my technology. Okay. So we have kind of talked about him a little bit, but we haven't really dug into his character. So, Tricia, what is something that you like about Kylo Ren, and then something that you dislike as far as a Star Wars villain?
I would say that the thing that I dislike about Kylo Ren is almost that the whole grabbing the lightsaber bolt felt like it was like they're trying to make him stronger and bigger and badder than the next villain. But then when that was the first thing, I was like, because we have the bigger Death Star, the Star Killer base and all that stuff. So I felt like sometimes they were just trying to outdo the original trilogy or the prequel trilogies in the strength. But then I realized that he's learned all these tricks, but he doesn't know why he's doing them. And there's a lot of apparently some lack of control, because he can do some of these things some of the time and then he can't do them all the time. Obviously the big moment for him is when Rey tells him to get out of her head, because he was like, wait a minute, nobody does that to me. So for me, the thing that I like about Kylo Ren is that he represents a lot of the things that people talk about when they're talking about things that we don't want to see in behavior in people and on the internet. A lot of times he just has bad behavior. He goes on rants. He's very self-centered. He thinks about himself, and that's probably epitomized most in that moment with Han Solo. So I appreciate what he represents in storytelling, which is, we know that villains are out for something. I don't think that he's out for power. I just think that he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just doing things because he's mad and he's angry and he's self-centered. And, what does he say? I don't want to, I'm being torn apart. I don't want to feel this way. He just wants it to stop. But that's the most powerful moment for me for Kylo Ren.
So, Sarah, you have talked a little bit about the idea of Kylo Ren being redeemed. Is it something that you want to happen for Kylo Ren, or something that you think shouldn't happen in the saga?
I think ultimately it needs to happen, because I know for me, like the very first time watching The Force Awakens, it shocked me when Kylo Ren, kills Han Solo. However, once I thought about it afterwards, I realized that was kind of a very pivotal moment in the whole Star Wars saga for all of the characters, really. Like, just think about if that moment did not happen, the journeys of all these characters would be so different. So because he killed Han Solo, Han becomes a martyr. He becomes noble. He has a noble end. Kylo starts questioning his dark side, really, because he thought that would make him stronger, but it didn't. And Rey kind of has to become the savior. And I'm not sure what do you guys think it makes the other characters when Kylo does that?
Well, that's for, I mean, the biggest people who does it affect is Luke and Leia. At this point, Rey only knows Han Solo as somebody who offered her a job, who aided her when she wanted something. He gave her a little bit of mentorship, but her experience with him is very, very, very brief. For Leia, Han was the love of her life. I think even though they're apart in this movie, there's still that, acceptance that he was the person that made her happy in a very difficult life. So what does Leia do beyond this when she knows she's gone through her planet being destroyed, her brother, obviously something's horrible's happened to Luke, because we see in the movie that she wants Luke back desperately, and she wants her son back desperately. And that ends up being something that Han dies for.
But I think that's Leia's downfall, really, is the fact that she is so desperate to get these members of her family back in her life that it's going to cause some massive destruction. And I think that she was a very different Leia in the original trilogy, and I don't think that she would have let her emotions get in the way of things. And I think in this case she is, and I don't think that's good, because it could really lead her to be blind to Kylo Ren and what he can really do. And that kind of scares me a little bit. But it also makes me fearful for Luke, because if she's doing that, then is Luke next?
Right. Well, and this is Anakin's downfall was his attachments, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to let go. He couldn't fathom the idea of Padme dying, even though at some point she was going to die, and she wouldn't want him to do the things that he did. And here's Kylo Ren, who's looking up. He looks up to Vader, but thinks that his weakness was his attachment, right? And so there's this whole complicated web of being selfish about things, about wanting things, but also being selfless about things. And so here's Han Solo doing a pretty selfless thing to walk out there, and Kylo's muddling it. He doesn't comprehend it, but that's the question. Does he not comprehend it because his parents weren't around and they didn't teach him that? Did something happen to Kylo Ren that he became so wounded that he's this mess? That's what I want to know. What made Kylo Ren into this? Was it, we don't know if, were Leia and Han so busy fighting their war that they didn't pay attention. She talks about Snoke kind of slipping in there. We get that inference.
Right.
He's
a child of neglect.
Right. But it was he, or, was that moment where she talks about, wanted Luke to train him did she see that he was was he kind of a, we talk about people who have kids that they just can't control.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know was he that? Was he already kind of, we don't know. That's what I want to know about Kylo. Someday we probably will. But that's kind of the thing that makes Kylo great to me, is we don't know, but we could imagine all sorts of possibilities for what he could be.
Right. So here's a question that, Tricia, you kind of put in here, so I'm curious what you think. I hadn't really thought about this. If he is the only Skywalker heir, will that taint the Skywalker legacy in the Star Wars saga? I don't necessarily think it will. I kind of think it'll give it more depth and diversify it. But I could see how, for a lot of people, that it would taint it, because the Skywalkers, Luke sort of redeems them to be this amazing Force surname. I don't know. I was going to say family, and then I'm like, they're not really. I don't know.
Well, it's so bizarre if you think about the Skywalker name, because it was Shmi. It was Shmi's name, and she says,
and she's a slave.
And she's a slave, and she's also, it's I guess the Immaculate Conception.
Mm-hmm.
So were the Skywalkers never really, is it just all part of the cycle that they arose out of nothing and they would disappear? I mean, it just depends on what you want to tell as a storyteller. I know it does. For a lot of people, there are a lot of people who are really attached to the legacy of Anakin and the legacy of Luke. I could see some fans not reacting well if the Skywalker legacy gets lost with Kylo Ben, Ren Ben, as I like to call him sometimes. There's also the process of redemption. He could decide that he's done the wrong thing and wants to go back to the light. But I don't think you can say no, especially after killing Han Solo, which was George Lucas was very careful about not showing Anakin kill Padme. I mean, I believe he killed Padme. That he was deciding to brutalize her, and at that point, her fate was kind of
sealed.
There. That was where it was going to be. Yes, and so in choosing the dark side, he'd already decided her fate in some part. So when Kylo they show, instead of choosing to not show the character do the worst thing they could do, which is kill the person they love, they showed it. So they're not protecting Kylo from, he could say I did the wrong thing, but ultimately, and what do you do with it? What do you do if he says I want to go back to light? Now what do you do with Kylo Ren? Are you going to, a lot of people, there's Kip Duran from the Expanded Universe who did a lot of bad things. And, Luke accepted him back in the Jedi Order. And a lot of people took issue with that. I don't think you can have him kill Han Solo. I wouldn't want him to kill Han Solo and then say, okay, you get to go back and be a Jedi.
That's why it's so interesting to have you here as a storyteller, because I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, even if he says I did the wrong thing, what do you do with him when? I think as a storyteller, there's only one thing that can happen. He can redeem himself, but then he's got to die. That's inevitable, or they just end up killing him. But
time does heal those, and we do have 2 more movies.
Yeah, but would you? In our own society, would we let somebody say, well, I did a really bad thing and kill my dad, but I want to go back out and do good things? So
no, go to jail.
Let's bring this back around to O.J. Simpson. No.
So
and the magic knife that was now found in the house, many years later.
But so that's the thing. What happens to him now? They didn't hold back. They didn't do what George Lucas did, which is he protected Anakin because he wanted Luke's act to mean something. But ultimately, Luke was only redeeming Anakin because he didn't want to be and this is not to say that it makes it bad, but he didn't want his father to be a bad person. If Luke had really wanted to do something, he was a Jedi and he should have gone and fought with and helped the rebellion stop the Death Star, which was going to kill a lot of people. But instead he went and redeemed his father, which is a good thing to do. It's a noble thing to do, but it wasn't going to save a lot of people. So
are you saying ultimately Luke was selfish?
I do think he was selfish. I don't think that the message is that's a bad thing. But I believe, and I also believe that part of and Lucas has talked about selfishness versus selflessness, that it's not necessarily a bad thing to do a selfish act, that perhaps in redeeming Vader, he did stop something, although the sequel trilogy kind of implies it. Well, it still was kind of hell in a handbasket afterwards. So, okay, that might have kind of, nixed all that too, but you can't take that away. So where does Kylo leave Luke even? Because he's apparently fallen down on the job. I would say he probably thinks he's failed in creating this monster. So now what does he do now that he's faced with another apprentice who's handed to him a lightsaber? And I guess she's saying, will you trade me? What does Luke do with that? I think Luke knows what happened to Han.
Yeah.
So he might know by way of Leia. So I don't know. Teresa, what would you do with Kylo when he was, if he stepped back into the light? What do you do with him then?
Kick him back into the dark. I don't want him to be redeemed. Like, I have no desire to see any sort of a redemption story at all. You know, we always go that path, and I want Star Wars to do something different and go dark and stay dark. Like, we do not have to redeem our good guys, or our bad guys all the time. Sometimes they're just rotten to the core, to quote The Descendants.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. We don't know. Maybe he was just this awful child from the beginning, and they didn't know how to deal with him, and that's just what he is. But
I think he just needs to go bad and be bad. You know, we had somebody who's deeply, deeply like an evil guy, and they cut him in half, and then they brought him back in the Clone Wars, and now we're gonna get to see him again in Rebels, which is fine and dandy. But like, let's keep it going in the films this time.
Yeah, so
I mean, because like Darth Maul's never gonna be redeemed ever, and nor should he. And if they tried to, I'd punch him in the face. Leave him alone. Sorry, I get super passionate about this.
Have you seen the Darth Maul fan film yet?
No, you mentioned it, but you
there was
can't
no
mention
links
things and not no linky.
Well,
no
all you have
linky,
to
no
do is,
watchy.
it was on Hollywood Reporter. All you have to do is Google Darth Maul fan film. I mean, come on, ladies.
I'm lazy.
It's
Google.
Google.
I only know how to Google Guatemalan animals.
And then our next soundbite. So, okay, well, but I'm glad you said you don't, because the presumption a lot of time is that it's the bad guy who's a dark sider, therefore he needs to be redeemed. Mm-hmm. But that would be a way that it's different in all this.
That's true. You know, I always got confused with that bring balance to the Force, because when they say that, they kind of mean make everyone good. But really, balance in the Force would mean half, dark side, half light side, right?
Yeah, a lot of what Star Wars, Lucas was looking at a lot of Eastern philosophy and blending it with Western philosophy, and a lot of Eastern philosophy thinks that you can't have one thing without the other. So you can't have, good without evil. You can't have light without dark. You can't have creation without destruction. And, for me, Kylo Ren is just sort of destruction on kind of steroids. So, do either of you guys watch Supernatural?
No.
All right. In the 10th, you think 10 seasons in, and how can they keep doing these stories about supernatural things and storytelling? But there's a very interesting spin now about God. They're talking about there is the God character, and that God gave up his other half, his sister, and she's the darkness, but he essentially sacrificed her so he could create something, which I think is a really neat spin on the whole yin and yang of there was always a creation kind of deity, and there was this destruction deity, and they couldn't live without themselves, each other. But by God doing what he did, this is in supernatural version, not in real life, that he created an imbalance in what has happened. So you can see kind of that in Star Wars often, where what is the balance of the Force? Does that mean that's good, or does it just mean that there's one and the other? I still go back to that Mortis arc. I feel like a lot of Lucas's philosophies on the Force are embedded in that, and you couldn't have the brother without the sister. So,
right.
Kylo's maybe the brother on steroids too.
Yeah, the brother not quite fully formed yet, which I find I love how he's not a full character yet. He hasn't come into his own yet. Can fly off the handle at any moment, because he's really not that he's a teenager, but he acts like a teenager with too much power. Yes,
he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. Well, and Snoke's definitely pulling his strings. Yeah. So what did he say? Now he wants Hux to go get him, because now he's ready for his next step. And the one part is in the book that I loved the most is that when he realizes that moment when he kills Han, that he thought he was going to be, that was going to be it, that Snoke had said, well, you just have to do this. You just sever your ties. You don't have attachments, and then you'll be ready. And it didn't happen for him. He started falling apart emotionally. It didn't do what he thought it was going to be. So he's, in some ways, he's almost like a drug addict.
Yes, very much so.
Right?
Very much. He exhibits a lot of characteristics of drug addicts.
Yeah, I mean,
and not even drug addicts, but just addicts in general.
Yeah, he doesn't think about things rationally. He's pursuing something at even not only at the cost to his own self. As you see when Rey pushes back and he starts to just do kind of irrational, goofy things that you would think a big bad villain wouldn't do. And, he's a solo Skywalker, so he's probably not stupid. So he's making decisions. You're like, why is he doing some of these things? And I also wonder why does he make that choice? Vader kills indiscriminately, it seems at times. In the original trilogy, we see him, choke people and, you're the next admiral in line because he's disposed of another. But why doesn't Kylo, when he gets all cranky, why does he choose to destroy a board instead of kill somebody? What's made him make that decision? What's holding him back from just, is it because they're so low on resources that Snoke's like, okay, you can have your tantrums and you can chop up the circuit boards and whatnot, but you can't kill people because I need them? What? Or I don't know. I ponder that often. I want to know, they had to make a decision why he would do that more than just, well, it's really cool to see him have a tantrum on screen, which I like. I like seeing him have a tantrum, but what drives the character to make that decision? I don't know.
It's a good question.
He's like a pit bull who knows he's not supposed to chew up the bunny in the yard.
Yeah.
He can bark at it, but he can't chew it up. So, exactly. So anything else on Kylo Ren, ladies?
I think relating him to a pit bull is a good place to stop. And you're a cougar.
And I'm a cougar.
Let's see. I'm a bunny because I just watched Zootopia, and Judy Hopps is my spirit animal. And Teresa, what are you?
I don't know. I was gonna let you name me, so I was curious.
Teresa, would she be a kitty cat? But a black cat with a temper.
Ooh.
Because I'm slinky.
Yes. Watch out for her.
You better.
On the 13th of Fridays.
But I thought that foxes were your spirit animals.
They are.
Yeah,
except,
what's up with the abandoned foxes now?
Well, when I saw Zootopia, yes, I liked.
So well.
I know.
You said well.
No, I love the Fox character, and I love foxes in general. I love watching Fox videos now. I'm addicted. However,
you're welcome.
When I watched Zootopia, the fox is kind of shifty and played by Jason Bateman, and Judy Hopps is played by Jennifer Goodwin and has all this optimism and cuteness and she's just so hopeful and glass half full. And I just felt I really connected with her and her story, and she's just I want to reach out and pet her nose through the screen. And so she is my spirit animal as of this present moment. And we have bunnies too, so bunnies and foxes are right up there.
It was right up your alley.
Yes. Yes. I'll have to say that. And short plug before we go is that just if we're doing plugs, our latest episode, Skywalking Through Neverland 113, I went to this Zootopia event where we got to talk with the animators, the directors, and the production designers behind the whole thing. And our episode has all this behind the scenes info from them. And it's amazing. And if you've seen Zootopia or you want to see it, it's a great companion to that, because you can really learn a lot just by listening to that episode of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Cool. And really quick plug for our show. A huge thank you to everyone that nominated us in the different categories for the Star Wars Podcast Awards. We were voted for categories, and all three of us were nominated for Favorite Fangirl Host. The show was nominated for Logo,
Ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
Ensemble Cast. So a lot of categories were in there, and we couldn't be more humbled and just thank you. We're really going to need y'all's help to just burn through this thing.
Yeah, it was so exciting to see that.
Yeah, and thank you to I know over the years of having participated in like fanfic awards, the people who are doing this are putting in a lot of work. So thank you to everybody who's involved with the podcast awards, because really I think the goal for them is to just bring awareness about all the amazing, if you look at the list, all the amazing podcasts that exist. So you can essentially listen all day long to people talk about Star Wars if that would be your pleasure. And there are people who listen to about every podcast, and we thank you very much for those that you do. But it's always helpful if you like something on the podcast that you shout it out so people know to take a listen. So
yeah. Ooh, ladies, I have late breaking news. We all made the final round for favorite fangirl host and ensemble cast, logo, and People's Choice podcast. Details on where you can vote are posted up at fangirlsgoingrogue.com, so be sure to head there and vote on your favorite podcasts.
All right. Well, if you want to get in touch with us in between shows, you can find us on Twitter at FG Going Rogue, and Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink.
you can email us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. Always on Facebook. Sandra's doing an amazing job of putting content up there, and we try to have discussions. So just go Fangirls Going Rogue. On Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com. And I can say that there is a lot of Rey. There's a lot of Kylo Ren. And Hux seems to get in there too. So got lots of stuff loaded in the queue. And our website, www.fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
Yay! And also on our website, if you click on the Support Us tab, you can actually find different ways to support us, including t-shirts with our new logo design. So that is a great way to support us. If you want to get a t-shirt and show your fandom loud and proud. And we are on Instagram at FG Going Rogue. And you can also leave us a voicemail on our website by clicking the tab on the right that pops up. Do you guys... Oh, Speak Pipe. The Speak Pipe tab. And you can also just do that the regular way by dialing 331-21-EWOKS, which is 331-213-9657.
And you can also help us by going on to Fangirls Going Rogue on iTunes or Stitcher or any of the places that you listen to us, and leave us a review and tell us how much you like the show. Because those reviews help people look and see how many people are reviewing, and then they go, I might check that out.
Absolutely. All right. Are we done? Should we all go and be bunnies and cougars and kitties?
I'm for it.
Sure.
All right. Well, until next time. Da 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 da.
Yub,
Yub.
Yub.
Meow, meow.